I'll get you to stay. In case. I don't know whether.
How do I shut it?
Is there something in your hair, or is it supposed to be like that?
No, it's gray. It's my color. Still holding on. Hi, Kola. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're just waiting for Ngwatilo. Bisi, Ndegwa. Daniel, how are you? Thank you, Ndegwa. Nkoma, hello. Ngwatilo, good to see you. And thank you for joining and agreeing to be part of this. I think we should wait for a few more people and then you can join me, Ngwatilo. Hello, Kina. How's Ghana? Thank you. Ngwatilo, okay. Thank you. Ngwatilo has joined. Thank you for being part of Afrolit Season 4.
Hey.
Ngwatilo, good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been months since COVID, since we last saw you.
Though.
Thank you very much. So
you
do
look fabulous. Like you know what outside looks like.
Anyway, right. Ngwatilo, you did say that you were gonna kick us off with a poem, so perhaps you could do that, and then we'll have a bit of a conversation. I'll invite you to do another poem, and then you'll do another poem at the end, and we'll talk. Hello, Frankie. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I am going to start with a poem that is actually new from this time. It's called "During the Pandemic, My Father Called," and yeah. I've forgotten how to talk about poems before you do them, so I'm just going to get into it and then you can talk about it after. During the pandemic, my father called. I'm on the phone with an American auntie, elderly, immunocompromised, and alone in her home. I don't answer as she and I haven't spoken in months, and he is dead and buried in Nairobi near Yellow Nandi Flame Tree. He calls again and again. I start to worry. I text mom and I'll call you back. He calls again. I tell auntie I have to go. Me. The dead. I'm trying to book the last flight out before the border closes. In my phone book, his icon is still us at that old Italian restaurant where I get the boscaiola, still candlelight and wine bottles on white walls. It's his birthday. He's hugging me, and it's strange to be hugged by him, but it's happening and we're happy. Mom is in the present. She's redeployed his phone to house guests, kept it alive so the telco company won't disconnect us, who like knowing his ringtone song is still there. This too is embalmment.
Thank you very much for that. And it's very poignant that you start off there, given that we are all still under closure or some stuff. Has Uhuru said when he's setting us free?
You're asking me hard questions.
I thought I'd start with the easy ones.
In July, early July, but I don't know. I'm not keeping track of the dates. You know, it's a lot. But who knows if he'll set it, open up the country or extend it. But looking at the numbers, it's not great.
Yeah, that's true. I've been seeing that. And in other places, it's even worse. I just saw that India has like 19,000 in one day, yesterday or something. Anyway, Ngwatilo, my first question. Okay, so you're the Brunel Prize shortlist twice. What did being shortlisted mean to you? What do literary awards mean to you? As a start.
Well, I guess first of all, we must recognize that there's very few and far between to go around for those of us on this side of the globe. And for others, well, I suppose they tell you what your peers or what you hope are your peers, because we've also been seeing, I guess in this time, what some people get away with in the name of publishing and poetry and poetry awards. But it does mean a kind of recognition that your work is your peers think your work is worth listening to and paying attention to, which I think is important because we are part of a literary community. So you want to feel like you're engaged in that, and it has some import. Obviously, there's people who've never won awards and are, very recognized by their own people, which who are not literary types, but who are, sometimes you also ask yourself, who are we writing for? And it's on some level, I think we know that it's not for awards. That's not the thing. It's also, it's for each other. It's for our communities. And unfortunately, our communities, such as they are, or, the one that's kind of locked up in Kenya, doesn't have very many, doesn't have avenues for recognizing its poets. Okay. So Brunel, was, to the extent that it was good. I mean, because you see, I was on that, I think in the chapbook that followed, I was with Hope Webuke, who, as you know, just resigned from the National Critics Book Circle.
Yes.
How things were going with that. Gbenga, Adesina, there's so many people, and you look at how their careers progress, and you're like, okay, at one time we were in one place, but they are living in places that have access to these things. So, you must just recognize where you are and be gentle with yourself. I don't know.
Okay. I did see the shade that you just threw over there about what other people constitute as good work. Can we talk about that, please? Particularly in relation to poetry.
I don't know if you saw this on Twitter last week, but there was, other than awards are usually the peak, but then the other is where you published and who's publishing you, right?
Yes.
So last week it came out that there was these two twins, I don't know, some white people, excuse me, but they'd been published 9 and 11 times each, right? In the New Yorker.
Yeah.
I've not even aspired in my career yet to try to send stuff to the New Yorker because it's hard, right? But then this poet, I think it was Zungu at Zungu, he was like looking at, okay, let's see what was actually, you know, the poems, some of the poems that were published. And you look and you're like, I don't know, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but really, are we saying this is it? Like, this is it. You know, and yeah, and one of the important points that he made was, I mean, at that, like, when you've been published so many times in these spaces, it does translate into the books that you have, the book deals that you have, and therefore the speaking engagements. So it's not like just recognition, it's also money. Like,
yeah, that's true.
What money do you have access to? And because, you know, when you're going to give talks at Harvard, be sure they're paying you real money. Be sure. And they're paying you also on the strength of your resume. So if my resume says, like, very few publications, very few awards, which they're like, I'm not gonna make pull. Like, I don't have the pull. Okay. So yeah.
Well, no, but you've been making your own ways, at least on this continent. I've seen your poetry in like JRB. I've seen in other publications quite a bit. So you've been holding your own, sis.
Yeah, I mean, I give thanks. I like literally, I give thanks that I've been just even able, like, again, none of it in Kenya. None of it. I guess maybe, so? You know, I did a story. Huh?
Why is this so?
Okay, but Zukiswa, but you live here.
I know, but I'm asking. Not everybody else knows what I know, so just speak up.
Okay, number one.
I think I want some tea. Because you're brilliant.
No, I mean, not
very
like,
hot.
Just from without any like tea, no caffeine. One, I think a lot of us kind of pinned a lot of our hopes on Kwani and the hope thereof. Yeah, Kwani published a lot of fiction and nonfiction. It never had any single author poetry books. It had maybe one anthology, and one is still in the works. If Kwani exists, who knows? But that was never a space. Story Moja only ever published Sitawa, and after that decided they would never publish poetry. Then you obviously you go into the Oxfords and the, you know, those spaces, and we know that a lot of access is based on, is this work good for the school curriculum? And we also know the restrictions that are made on even what then our children are able to read. And some of it is, do we feel like it has good stories about us? And, you know, like some of it doesn't make sense from a poetic point of view. But I'm sure it makes sense to people from an educational point of view. So, like, from a spaces perspective, when you're thinking about how publishing works in the rest of the world, where, you know, being published by a certain somebody means that this work was good, right? Nobody really cares. Like my collection, Blue Mother Tongue, which opened doors for me, was self-published. Right? But it's like it managed to do the work in spite of, and I guess there's a recognition on a sad recognition on some global level that, okay, maybe publishing isn't working the way, you know, in East Africa. Okay, let me just speak about Kenya. In Kenya, the way it works in other places. So before you get into the politics and the tea and all of that, like there's some real systemic. There's just no funding. I don't know if it's funding or like where's the money? You know, even if you were to get funding, where do you take it? Like,
okay, but I mean, you've got new platforms now. I mean, you've got something like Gelada that has been here for a while, and Down River Road,
and
we just
Lolwe
came out,
now,
and
DRR.
yeah, and something maybe more Pan-African, Lolwe. So can we actually just say that maybe I understand that there's still very few places, but certainly I think in Kenya in particular, there's a space, there is a willingness, I would say, for people to start doing something.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, sorry, I've been thinking especially about sort of single author collections, you know, but yes, certainly, like the onset of the Jaladas, like it's creating space and a sense of professionalism and all of that we've been craving. And hey, I see Troy Onyango is even here. Somebody was DMing me like, yeah, do you know there's a call out on Lolwe? Like, yeah, their issue just came out and like, it looks really good. So there is more space, and I honestly need to just shout out younger folks. I think when I was in my 20s, like, yeah, it was rough. And so to see these guys coming up, and I know some of them are in their 30s, but a lot of the energy is young, and that's like super awesome. And yeah, I don't know, it gives you that energy.
Okay. We've got a comment. I just saw a comment. Somebody says they are an editor of a journal in the UK, and they would like you to send your work to them. I just saw it right here. Let me see who it is.
Good for it.
Yeah, I think just scroll down. All right. You took part in a dialogue on the ICC Witness Project a few years ago. That justice shall be our justice. Do you think there is a responsibility for artists, writers in particular, to speak up against injustices, or should we just really be doing art for art's sake? You know, if you're on this continent, is there a need for us to speak up, or can I just write about walking in the street of Nairobi for 20 hours and how this building was owned by Sir Evelyn Baring? Can we do that? Do we have the privilege to do that?
I think we need both. We honestly need both, because some of our troubles, shall I say, it's hard to find the joy in that. And I feel, or it's hard to find, I think for a long time, let me just be very clear, for a long time we've articulated our experience in terms of what we lack, yeah, and what we don't have, what we wish, you know. And simple as they are, we still have small things that we enjoy. We do have those moments of pleasure, Kiguro likes to say. And if we can also articulate those and have those live in our work and in our poetry, like then it gives us a sense of like the whole experience. Yes, our sitting president has those things that he has. Yes. Yes, all of these things are true. Yes, we don't have an opposition right now. Yes, there's like a lot of extrajudicial killings that are happening, even this time of Corona. All of this is true. But if you cannot also like say, oh, you know, there's a brown bird, or look at these hornbills, you know, that like, how will you know that your life also had joy? You know, like my kid, you know, how beautiful this kid is and amazing, and they can spell now. That, like, all of that is important and is part of our experience. You know, I have a lover, and she is amazing. Like, we need to have that. Otherwise, then
We'll be like
Yeah.
a whole lot of depressed people, huh? We'll
So
be depressed
much.
all the damn time. Now, your trip into, you started music, and I got to know more about your music when we did last year. Oh, okay. So guys, last year, Ngwatilo did artistic encounters with a musician from Botswana, a guitarist from Botswana, and Sereti. And, you know, we've had artistic encounters for 3 years. It was probably one of the best, most memorable artistic encounters that you did because of the way you used your musical training in doing that poetry and just the way you and Sereti jammed together. So what shifted you from music to poetry? Or did you shift, or are they one and the same? Do you work together with those beyond, of course, when you did artistic encounters?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I do both from time to time. Though I feel like my musical credentials are like somewhere. But so I think it kind of became more of poetry than music out of necessity. Because, you know, as Audre Lorde says, I used to have this on my wall, but like poetry was the one thing that you can do by yourself in those little moments, right? And music for me required people, it required artistic, like, you know, meeting of the minds, which doesn't always happen. Like, we don't always have the privilege of that. And some of the spaces I was rolling in at the time, just, it was not possible. And so poetry kind of allowed me to be expressive and to kind of say what I needed to say, but also I think the form of song, at least as I understood it at a time, was limiting. So like poetry allowed me to start one place and come somewhere else, you know, and arrive somewhere else. As opposed to, you know, song, you come back to the chorus and I'm like, no, I'm in a different space. It is a limited kind of view of music. I fully, you know, not the musicians come for me. But at the time, that's what I was feeling was the limitation of song. But it's, I mean, I honestly, my perspective on these things is like, it's, you have the text, then you have the body, then you have whatever other expression that you can layer on it, and all of these things can come together to tell the poem, and it can become film at that point. It can become song. It can become musical. Let us not stop poetry, please. As Toni Morrison has also shown us, like, I think one of, is it poems? But she wrote it. People have done things, like really interesting things with the base of poetry and kind of built on it into something else. So I'm always like happy to play in that space.
Right. I think I see some comments here. I don't want people to attack me about ignoring them. Frankie says poetry shed is a whole other thing. Pelisawa says recognize when you are and be gentle with yourself, which is essentially what you said. Thank you very much, Frankie. What else?
Am I not in my 20s? Yes, I am in my 20s. Yes.
Stay there. Kina says she could go on a rant about current mainstream taste in poetry. Please, Kina, tell us. We're waiting. We're looking for that comment. James Murua says, fun fact, Jalada Africa has published more journals than Kwani in its 15-year history ever did. Okay. Ndegwa says, school curriculum nonsense. This is a total Kenyan conversation. I know, like, I've had teachers who have asked what the theme. There's this obsession with what is the theme of the book? What is the mora? I'm like, how, guys? Please don't do this. Can the
No,
children
you know,
just enjoy literature? Okay, to the
I
poets
remember when
on
I
the
was,
platform. This is the
sorry?
person the poet on the platform. This is the person to follow at DJRQM, who says, I'm the poetry editor at the Y Review in the UK. Please send us your work. Same goes for any poets watching this. We pay on publication. DJRQM. There you have it. Kayo Chigonyi is
As
the
a
name.
down.
Yeah. Kayo Chigonyi is the
It's
name.
funny how I was just even talking this morning with someone about you know how our drama festival, it really taught people that there needs to be a theme. That thing is deep.
I know. Kina says she agrees with us both. There is an excerpt in Yvonne Vera Stone Virgins that falls into the walking in Nairobi looking at buildings. And yet Stone is one of the greatest protest novels ever. This is true, Kina. I was talking about a whole book that just talks about walking in Nairobi and not doing anything else.
Oh, which book is that? Why was that shade?
No, I'm just saying I was talking if I did that.
Kina is actually also saying that the school curriculum thing is continent-wide, yet another holdover. So, Kina, do you also have this thing where you guys have drama festivals and then you're told the theme is AIDS? And nobody in that context can say that, can say anything good about, hear me, but you can't say anything complicated about AIDS. It has to be, AIDS is bad. Use condoms. There can't be a complicated message,
discussion about it.
or
exactly.
Yeah.
Leah has a very important question that always comes up in this platform. But you're a poet. We kind of have a feeling we know what you prefer. But poetry or cocaine?
What's the difference? Sorry, guys. Do say no to drugs, fam. Also, cocaine is expensive, no? I don't know. I see in the movies. Also,
yeah, particularly on Poetry Pay.
Oh, particularly on Poetry Pay. Dude, I just got, I have a poem forthcoming in a magazine called Prism in Canada. And they're paying me 40 Canadian dollars. And I'm like, hey! It's a lot of money.
Troy has a question.
Okay.
I kind of think this is a shade question, but I could be wrong. Troy says, people say poetry doesn't sell, but Rupi Kaur proved that's not true. How can people sell their books like her?
Okay, this is dangerous territory because then it also enters the, if you're not selling like Rupi, then you're not doing anything, which is very easy for us Kenyans because we're we look at the money here more than anything. And I mean, well, to be fair, Jericho Brown is selling very well right now as Pulitzer. But again, when you win the Pulitzer, your sales go up, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But we can't all be Rupi. Some of us have
standard
5 lines, 6 lines, 12 lines.
Okay, all right.
Me, I'm here going for more than 3 lines, Zuki.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
I'm not here to prove it.
Okay, so I want to know, the one thing that I want to know, and it's something that I've always admired about poets. You guys have the power to, poets have the power to do in probably 2-3 stanzas what I do in a whole book. How do you do that? How do you make a whole story out of like 3 lines or something? Or, well, not 3 lines, that's Rupi. But out of maybe 4 stanzas or whatever it is. How do you do that?
gosh, you have like asked me what is the meaning of life, and according to poets. Well, for me, it is about the moment. For me, the best, or when I'm like, yes, this poem has resonated with me and hopefully others. It's what you're able to take a moment, what you're able to take a moment and then bring in all this other stuff, right? Which is there, because there's nothing that we do that isn't kind of shaded by what has gone before, like by moments before, you know, like for me, my dad passed on 2 years ago. So this pandemic has been, like it has been my chance, or it has opened an avenue for me to talk about grief and actually grieve him in ways that I wasn't able to before. So yes, you have a pandemic, but then you have death. And you have, you know, just a phone call, and you have, like, you're able to they can be contained in this space. But it's, I mean, you know, like better poets than I can make full length. One of my favorite books is a book called Ocean by, what's her name? Sue Goyette. And it's a full length, like she's thinking about the ocean, and she's like kind of created a whole mythology about the people who live by the ocean, how they interact with boats, how they interact with each other, like their mating dances, as in like it's just a whole world. Like it's in your space as a novelist, but each poem is still able to kind of, I don't know, people should just buy this book and read it.
Thank you for checking us, Kina. Okay, firstly, thank you, Dr. Slay. I'll send the earrings to you. Kina says, I'm sorry, no rupee talk here. The far better example, far better, is Koleka Putuma's Collective Amnesia. It's done very well. Yes, it has, in fact, and it has been translated into multiple languages. And I'm very pleased to tell you way in advance that she's going to be on Afrolit 5. Right. Alman Alicia wants to know, who are the poets that you are reading, Ngwatilo?
At the moment, I love it. So I have Tracy K. Smith, her Wade in the Water. I got it a couple of years ago, but I'm just now in the process of reading it. I'm talking, and Michelle Angwenyi, by the way, is coming out with a new collection through APBF. So I don't have it yet, but I'm waiting for that. So guys need to look out for that as well. Yeah, you should have her on this thing, by the way, Zuki.
As soon as the book is out, I will.
I think it's going to be next month, July. Dion Brand, The Blue Clerk is also my reading list right now. It's like a full thick thing right now. Dion Brand is not for jokes, guys. She's not for jokes. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I'm also into this kind of not fantasy, but like kind of outside of the world, or outside of kind of reality type of work. So for that, the people that I've been looking to are, can I just go look at the name?
Yes, sure.
Where is she? This is my unread list section. So this chick, sometimes I feel pressure.
No pressure. All right, finish this sentence.
Heather Crystal. What is Amazing is a book I've been returning to a lot. And just because of like you know, she's looking at a tree and then it has a technology and then the tree has just done, and I've already talked about Sugayet, her ocean. Like, I'm really interested in invention right now. I was also reading, he doesn't have a full collection. I haven't seen the full collection, but I've been following Benga Adesina because he's also been writing elegies, and I'm into that elegy space, or, you know, death poems.
Now, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
A sentence you need to finish. Poet can't write about the fire from the... Hello, Dillman. We see you're here. How are you? Poets can't write about the fire from the... Finish the sentence.
I'm even lost. Poets
Okay,
can't write about the fire?
Yeah, the history behind that is Dillman Dilla, who's just joined us, tells us about his book, which was part of the discussion last month, was about a girl who had superpowers and she had fire coming from the anus. So, poets can't write about fire from there.
Breast?
Okay, we're more than halfway
but they
through.
can.
We're more than halfway through. I'm going to ask you to read another poem for us before I ask some more questions.
Okay. I'm going to read from Dagreti Kona, Little Chapbook. Are people feeling happy or like challenged?
Well, they've got a lot of questions for you, so I think that's a good thing.
All right, I'm going to read Fatigue. So specifically, this was when I was traveling around Kenya at one point and doing different, like staying with different families, trying to figure out what being a Kenyan means. Because I used to be that person. Nowadays, I think I've retreated to myself a little bit more. But this is a poem that I kind of find still, like it just applies anyway. So, Fatigue, shivering. You have walked to your mind's edge. Walk no further. Leave the questions of these severed blood relatives. Leave it with the mango tree. Can it bear fruit when it is too young to shade its own stem? Can it save those called lazy, sinful, thief, witch? Those who named them so. Let the tree answer. Let it live or die. You need yourself more than questions need answers. You cannot bend the head of one, make him lick the wound of another, knowing that the wound and the tongue are septic. Let God do it. Let him manure the tree if he wants. Let him hold up the branches, whisper the heavying twigs strong so the fruit doesn't tear green, as is happening to you even now. You, let the tree alone. The genes of different seeds have already combined, though they accuse and sentence each other maniacally, long after the graft has taken, after the sap of one is the sap of the other, is you. You must let the tree answer. You do not need the answer to survive.
Thank you. I think this leads nicely into the question from Ndegwa, which is, do you think someone can be a poet if they don't experience emotion strongly? There's an angle he's allegedly going with this question.
I think so, but how will you care enough about a thing in order to write it? Like, I mean, in order to stay with the poem until it's done, you know, like I think one has to be obsessed enough with the expression and kind of crystallizing it somehow in order to make any kind of art.
Okay, but maybe you
or this
you're not,
performance.
like, maybe you're not emotionally invested, but maybe you just want to show off your knowledge of something, you know? Is that like impossible? Like if I was like, okay, I want to show off my knowledge of a building or a town or whatever, you know? But I'm not
I'm really
I'm not
trying to
interested.
understand.
No,
But you
I was
must
just
love this
asking.
building.
No, so I'm saying, no, but maybe I don't love the building. I'm just indifferent to the building. But I just want you, the reader, to be able to know, hey, you know what? I know the history of this building.
You're gonna really need to make me care. And I'm really struggling to understand how you're gonna make me care if you don't care.
Okay. All right. Leah wants to know a very profound question. If you're a poem, how many lines would you have? I don't know whether it means the lines of cocaine or the lines of poetry.
Me, I don't know where this cocaine story came from. I'm just like, in my youth, we never used to have this.
Okay, but if you're a poem, how
I
many lines would
probably,
you have? Like how many poetry lines would you have?
I probably have like somewhere around 12, 9 to 12 or 15, 9 to 15, somewhere around there.
Okay. Can you, Ndegwa also wants to know whether you can pen a poem, whether you can pen a poem about Uhuru extending the curfew from 7 to 9, a short poem.
I probably could. But I don't care enough.
Okay. That's a troll question, by the way, because that's what he does.
I'm sorry. I don't
That's
know.
what this platform does. All right. I've got another question for you.
I hear Ndegwa here being like, being a Kenyan means getting a white collar job after university. Yeah. We must all pay rent. And yeah,
Bisi,
man, I tried.
Bisi wants to know, what does religion, if any, play in your life, in your work, I guess?
A lot. Okay, I don't know if it's it's a lot. Like I grew up, I don't know if it's religion, but like, you know, one of the kind of key texts is the Bible in my life. And so like things that come from that space, I feel like, am I getting hit by the sun too much? Let's see. Okay, let's check.
That's better.
Okay. So okay, yes, the Bible has a role to play, but I also am a PK, guys. If nobody knew, please, you can know today. So that was a very core part of that. Also, we live in Kenya, which is very which tries to pretend like it's very Christian. So religion plays, but it's not a clean thing. I'm critical of religious things and people, but we'll use, because it's a common thing. I'll use that language and those images from time to time. But also, I think God is important as a thing. Like at the point that you acknowledge God, if you do, because sometimes I feel like sometimes you just need to. Me personally.
Okay. All right. Cool. Leah would like to know: were you always this pretty, or did poetry do it?
Yo, man. Thanks. First of all. My mama had a big role. I don't know. Thank you. I don't know. Yeah, thanks.
Ndego comments, common Kenyan line. I was raised in a Christian home. We went to church every Sunday. My father played piano and I was in the praise and worship team. I think it's a line that's universal to most of this continent, or just most Black families in general. And yeah, we are coming towards the end of our discussion, although we still have a bit of time. So before we totally go off, I think I would ask you that you please read another poem, just and let us know also, you know, if people wanted your chapbooks, where do they get them?
So Zukiswa, please don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. Okay. Whatever I say now next, yes? You will not shoot me. Sindio?
No, I won't, but I'm just going to regret having invited you to a platform because I don't like having writers who don't have books.
Okay, I have books, but are they in a bookstore?
Well, that's not useful to the people here who want to buy them. Are you able to send them out? How does it work? What do you do? Like,
I'm
say
able
somebody,
to send them out. I'm able
so
to send them out.
Who is in Ghana right now, who's in Accra, says, I want a copy of Dagoret Corner or, you know, your other collection, Bloomer Tongue, and how do you get it to her?
I will mail it to you. That is what it is. I have many copies in my house.
And how much are they going for?
About
including posting and packaging.
So that will be on a case by case because it's by location. So obviously in Nairobi it's not a lot. It's about I'm just going to use dollars for being simple. Yes. Okay, so it's about 700 shillings here, there, especially on the continent. So seven bucks. Then plus shipping, what. And I'm happy to do that. The books are also in, I think the Blue Mother Tongue is still in Nairobi bookstores.
Okay.
That one is
so which bookstops can we get it? Can we get it at Prestige? Can we get it at Bookstop? Can we get it at Textbook Center?
Yes. Textbook Center, Bookstop, I think still has some copies. But highlight me, DM me. I will, like, if you have any troubles, I will sort you out. Also, so Dagoret Corner is part of the African Poetry Book Fund chapbook collection. So it comes with, so I mean, if you're looking at it from me, like I can send you the thing by itself because I don't have, you know, they're thick, they're heavy, and those usually sell out very quickly. So that's the problem because those were published in the States. But yeah, DM me, I will hook you up. This is the life. I'm making films nowadays, Zuki.
Yes, I was about to go there. I was about to talk about your filmmaking.
Yeah.
Incidentally, it's a good thing that you're almost coming to the end because the chief troll of this platform is here, Remy from Namibia. But
I'm seeing, I'm like,
yeah.
You can DM me requests, nothing else. And no, I cannot be a second wife. But you know, if my current husband consents, I'm open to acquiring a second husband.
This is good to hear. Now that last poem, please.
If he consents. Yeah, okay. All right. Rituals at the lake. On the morning of my 29th birthday, while my hosts are out, I am bent low on the shores of the lake, washing my clothes, sudsing Victoria as is the norm, wondering what the soap will do to a generation of tilapia, to the fellow we will fry when we celebrate my life tonight. A sibling dumps a bucket of water on my back, as is the practice, to recall that first emergence from the womb. My scream completes the ritual, releases us from enlightenment's cast. We five become children chasing each other with buckets and gallons and bottles of lake. When all have been reborn, we give in to her, fully clothed, overjoyed, primitive again.
Thank you very much. And as we are about to finish, there's a lovely question, there's lovely comments going on about polyandry down there. Yeah, so whenever you're ready, there's a host of husbands and wives available.
Wait, somebody has been like, current husband.
Yeah.
No, every day we choose to continue to be married.
Till death do us part.
Yes, but it's a daily choice, fam. It's a daily choice.
Now here's a final question for you. Tell us a little bit more about the film that you did and where can people access it?
Okay, the film is called Joy's Garden. It is my first film. It is my first short film.
Very nice.
So it's about a man. Can all the men in the group say, hey man, it is about you? Because, men like to complain that we don't do things that are about them.
Well, Remy just says that he's yours from the first line to the last stanza. So there you are.
All right. So it's about, what do we call them? Failed this, the man who you had a kid with, yeah? And then a baby daddy, yes, a baby daddy. Okay, so it's this baby daddy who has to take care of his kid for the first time in ever because the primary caregiver has died. And it's him and them trying to negotiate space and trying to figure out what that's going to be. So his little girl is like 7 years old. So, for all of you who have 6 and 7-year-old children and cannot leave your husbands or father of your children with the child, and the child will remain alive. This film is for you to imagine. Just maybe it's how it might go. Anyway, so the film was funded by DocuBox. I got a grant from them, $2,500. Shout out to DocuBox. Dollars. So it's not a lot of money, but it at least gives you the boost to be able to, and that thing that we're talking about with awards, like that's endorsement that this is worth trying, and it really helps you galvanize a lot of energy around you. So the film is supposed to premiere in Nairobi shortly. We're just waiting for a date, and I will share that. And then we will be touring it around all the places I will become Koleka Putuma for this film, guys. Koleka Putuma, first of all, is an African treasure. Like, she has shown us the way to make this thing work, first of all. So I'll be doing that again once the world opens. Yeah, but once the dates are up, please guys just follow my IG. Which is closed, yeah. But let's become friends. I'll become more friendly on IG. So thanks.
You see, there you have it, folks. And thank you so much, Ngwatilo Mawiyoo, for joining us today on Afrolit as the first guest. Everyone, please join us at 18 GMT, which is 18 GMT Ghana Mean Time, 19 West African Time, 2000 Central African Time, and 2100 East African Time. I will be chatting to Hannibal Tabu, who will be joining us from LA. Thank you so much, Ngwatilo. It was lovely.
Thank you so much for having me, hey? And I'm looking forward to the rest of the program this week. I don't even know how you got to be young, man.
I'm just Zukiswa Wanner, bitch.
Hey, more power.
All right, sis. Thanks
guys.
a lot. Thank you, everyone. And